But my beats, they are hard.
Good evening and happy Mother's Day. Welcome to another episode of the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian Fulford and A.D. Drew here with you this evening, this Mother's Day evening. Drew, how you doing, man? What's the latest with you?
Brian, I think we may have to go and have a challenge on this podcast. Take it to the booth and see what we can happen. Don't be surprised if we do have one.
A challenge? What do you mean? What do you mean, a challenge?
Coach's challenge, Brian.
Ooh, coach's challenge. The popular thing for today. You know, a good challenge will win you a championship, as we have seen today, man. If you do it in the right time at the right place. What's your take on replay, Drew? Where are you on where we have gotten in the world with replay? And I say that because obviously we saw a SWAC softball championship that was decided on the heels of replay to some degree, but more so just in general in sports. I mean, I think we can see how replay at the end of the NBA playoffs right now can just ruin the vibe of a whole good game. But it's everywhere now, from softball to baseball to basketball. Is it too much? Have we had enough yet? Or what's your vibe? What's your take?
Here's my thing, Brian. What makes a play so special down the stretch? Last 2 minutes of a basketball game, last 2 minutes of a football game, last 2 innings of a baseball or a softball game, fifth set of a volleyball match. What makes that play so different in the fifth set versus the first set? First inning versus the last inning. You know, that's the only thing I don't like about replay, because those are, at any point in time, any of those things could be a momentum swinging play. So I love the fact that we could get it right as a former official. You know, takes the human element out of it, but it also at the same time takes the pressure off of the official, because if he doesn't get it right, he or she don't get it right, you know, we don't have to go through all that argument and everything like we used to back in the day. What did you see? How did you justify that call, etc.? You had a bad angle and all this stuff. So what? I'm out of position. Is that camera in position? Do we have the right angle to correct this? Let's get the call right. But you know, the number of challenges and when you can challenge, and most importantly, what you can challenge. Because in some sports, the only thing you can challenge is a judgment call. Some of them is a rules interpretation. You know, so the consistency of what you can challenge and when is the one thing that has to be worked on. But of all that said and done, Brian, I love in this softball tournament, the challenges were fairly quick. Versus some other sports that we have, and the challenge, right or wrong, kills the whole momentum of what's going on. And of course, the teams get a free timeout based on the challenge. And we've seen it, and Coach Gokhan at Florida A&M is famous for this, using a challenge instead of a timeout to break momentum.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I think there has to be, and I don't have to ask Charles this, or maybe you know this, and kind of giving a little spoiler, where Charles Edmond, who actually did play-by-play of pretty much all but 2 of the games,
and that was due to weather.
At the SWAC softball tournament. He will be joining us at the hopefully at the top of hour 2 to kind of give us, maybe a lot of behind the stuff scenes that we did not see or get a chance to hear from the SWAC tournament. But I don't know, what is the rule in terms of the number of challenges that, and I think it does vary sport to sport, but let's just take softball.
Most of them you get 2. Most sports you get 2 challenges.
And if you are successful, do you get a third?
Oh, you get to keep your 2 challenges.
Okay, as long as you're getting them right, you can use as many as you want.
And it depended on the sport, but in general, yes. But see, the thing in softball and baseball, unlike football or basketball, or even volleyball, baseball, and softball, it does not cost you a timeout. Where obviously softball and baseball do not have timeouts. Volleyball, you do have timeouts, but the challenge does not cost you a timeout. In basketball and football, an incorrect challenge will cost you a timeout. So there's that additional level of strategy in there. Now, here's one of the problems with the challenges, Brian, at our level.
What is our level? Now, when you say our level, what are we saying here?
Well, I'm using our level 2 ways. Number one, at the FCS or Division II level, and at the HBCU level, do we all have the technology for these challenges? Two things with the technology, Brian. All of our institutions don't quite have everything that they need to, as far as the proper cameras, the internet speed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Why is that important? Well, the internet speed, not only for the challenge for the replay official, but for those coaches, because coach needs to look and say, hey, I got something here. And you've got to make that decision quickly based upon the sport that you are doing, so that you can challenge it before that next play. In softball or in baseball, you kind of go with that first base coach or that third base coach, or even the batter or runner, as far as, what do you think? Yeah, I think I beat it out. Well, hell, you was running. You don't have the best angle on this. Let me talk to my first base coach and see if they thought you beat it out.
It's funny you bring that up, and this is something we can talk to Charles about, because there was a play in the softball championship game where Florida A&M's coach, Coach Beal, wanted to challenge something. And now she probably made the mistake where she pulled her phone out.
Oh, that was the mistake. That was no probably to it. She pulled
the phone out and got a warning, because I guess whatever she wanted, and I can't wait to talk to Charles about this, whatever she wanted to challenge, that didn't go over well with the officials.
Let me say something, especially as a former official. Don't you ever in your life bring an electronic device in my face to show me something. Now, if you happen to have it in your hand when you come out to have your discussion, that's one thing. But don't you ever pull up a replay or a rule in front of me. A warning was a soft way of saying, get the hell up out my face with that garbage. Because I Brian, especially when I was doing high school sports, you came out with an electronic device in basketball, automatic, or in other ones, other sports, you would get ran. I'm sorry. You know, that's almost automatic. That's 98% of the time a automatic, whatever, some level of discipline for the coach, be it a warning, be it a technical foul, or something along those lines. And Brian, why don't you pull up the comment from G Boom?
About the regular season?
Yes.
Yeah, about
This
not
is
having it during
this is the problem,
right?
Because we don't use it during the regular season as often as we should. Some schools have the technology, some schools don't. And because of that, Brian, some coaches do not necessarily know how to use their challenges properly. It's almost like back in the day during basketball season, before we standardized it and everybody played with media timeouts, Brian. Back in the day when it used to be like that, coaches did not necessarily know how to adjust their substitution patterns and use their timeouts to deal with media timeouts. It's the same thing, and it's an adjustment. We saw it during the various even during the basketball tournaments this year, SIAC and SWAC, where the timeouts went from 1 minute and 15 seconds to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's an important strategy piece that you need to know and be able to adjust to. Because a 2 minute and 30 second timeout during a basketball game, that's that time that you would have pulled him out the game anyway for a blow. Now he's getting that blow. You might steal 30 seconds on the front side of it, steal 30 seconds on the back side of it. And now that player who was playing 30 to 32 minutes a game can play 36 to 38 minutes a game just because of the flow of the game due to the media obligations. So all that different stuff goes into coaching strategy, Brian. Knowing, being used to the challenges, the challenge system, when to use them and how to use them. Like I say, some coaches use those in lieu of timeouts. So being able to do that. And of course, Brian, there's always that you can't take it home challenge.
Yeah.
Which ironically, I think may have been what at the end of the game.
Yes.
Where Coach Montgomery used that challenge. And he just happened to win it because he couldn't take it home.
Couldn't take it home. Gotta use it.
I
listened to listening to it post game. I'm not sure that he he says he normally doesn't listen to the background noise or the fans or whatever, but the fans, it seemed like they helped him in that process with deciding to use that challenge in that particular moment. So I mean, and the fact that his team had been burned on that twice.
That's what it was. I think his people were being petty at that point in time.
No.
And what I mean by being petty,
not the petty. Petty's not the right word.
I don't mean that in a bad sense, Brian. I don't mean being petty in a bad sense. But that's one of them. Dana did it to you twice. You need to do it to her.
We might as well. We might as well do it to her.
And like I say, that was the petty. And I'm not using it in a bad sense as being petty, as in you wrong. But yeah, show her that you can play that game too, type petty. And I'll be doggone. As soon as they went to the replay, I'm like, oh crap.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah. As soon as they went to the replay, I knew it. I hated it. I hated to call it. But I knew she had come off the bag, and
she was almost a step off the bag by the time
it was clear, just like the two that had been called against Jackson State, and there were other ones, but well, hey, Kenneth Johnson, we're glad that you had a chance to catch the SWAC softball tournament. It is a very well produced event. Congratulations to, again, SWAC Digital Network, putting together quality programming of the conference tournament. And as I said, we'll hopefully have Charles Edmond here in hour 2 to kind of talk about that win. So again, congratulations to not only Jackson State winning their second consecutive softball championship, but also Howard University, the Howard University Lady Bison. How about talk about a historic season, not only winning their first regular season in the long history of being in the softball business, but also winning their first conference tournament. Let's see. I'm reading here from MEACsports.com. The win marks Howard's first MEAC title since 2022 and secures the Bison an automatic berth in the 2025 NCAA softball tournament, which that field is going to be announced at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. So
we'll be monitoring that live on the podcast, and we'll be able to tell you where both Jackson State and Howard will be going. I've got my money on LSU for Jackson State.
Yeah, we'll get to that here in a second. Final score was 6-1 over South Carolina State, who was the 6th seed, and there are only 6 teams that play in the MEAC softball tournament. So South Carolina State had found their way into the championship game. Let's see. Head coach Torrey Tyson named the tournament's most outstanding coach, goes without saying. Amina Ballinger, was the tournament most outstanding player. We'll wait to see what happens there. And then, of course, as mentioned, the tournament that technically probably, your if game was supposed to be played yesterday due to one day getting completely rained out. And then another day, I think, got shortened because of weather. The tournament ended up being pushed all the way into this morning. And, how about, Jackson State coming up with a 3-1 victory over Florida A&M in the if game. FAMU had to go through 4 elimination games, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Friday, just to, get to Sunday. And after getting a 1-0 lead on Jackson State, the Lady Tigers managed to put 3 across throughout a couple of innings and end up with the victory. So it just again scores the nature. Look, this is the 3rd time that Florida A&M and Jackson State have competed in a championship game or match this season. It's the 3rd one, all women's sports, by the way. Volleyball, in which FAMU ended up winning. Jackson State was the defending champs. Then in tennis, where Jackson State was the regular season champs, but FAMU was the one who was in the conference championship a year ago, but lost, ended up beating them. And then softball, the same 2 teams meeting for the 2nd consecutive season again. So, congratulations to Jackson State. So there you go. Because I know some of y'all out there in the chat, you think that I would just ignore. No, I will give Jackson State, their flowers for winning. And I think so. Let's do this because we like to toss around trophies and championships because I see some of you guys in the chat liking to throw up the number of titles this year. Let me see. So Jackson State has under their belt this season a football championship and a softball championship. Is that correct? Am I missing anything else? Did they win in men's tennis? Did men's tennis win? No, Israel. You can't. No, we're talking this academic year. I don't know what. Put that back up, Drew. Put that back up. What was that? What was that? What is 3-1? What is score 3-1? What is that, Israel? Don't do that. We've only played in 3 championship matches or games this academic year, 24-25. FAMU is 2-1. Now, am I missing anything, Drew? Come on now. You guys in the chat, am I missing anything? I didn't think so. No, we're not. And JTV, no, we're not counting regular season. Hold on. Go put that back up there. We're not counting regular season titles, JTV.
Wait,
no.
Right,
No, don't do that. We're not counting regular season. No. We're counting tournament championships or, Jackson State has 2 titles. You can put a banner up for winning a regular season all you want. Okay, that's fine.
Israel clarified itself. Lost by the same score in 24.
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll give you that one.
All right, we'll give you that one. We'll get
Thank you.
No,
Thank you, JC.
no. Are you counting those, Drew? Are you counting regular season titles?
I mean, okay. Well, Brian, let's see. Do regular season titles count towards the Commissioner's Cup?
Probably.
So, let's be fair, let's count all of them. If we count regular season and tournament, so if that's the case,
Are we
you have to add the division championship.
Exactly. Are we adding divisions?
And softball.
Okay.
And then we will add Jackson State's tennis regular season title.
Okay. All right.
But regardless, D I love, D didn't catch us.
Okay, so let's go through. Let's do the roll call here. Let's go through it here. Because I think at the end of the day, we're all chasing Alabama State. We want to keep it. We want to keep it 100. We're all chasing Alabama State.
Regular season.
Huh?
Who won volleyball regular season?
Florida A&M.
So they won both.
Yep, but regular season and tournament and the conference.
So watch your mouth before you start adding the regular seasons in.
I'm just saying that I wasn't doing that, but they want to do that. They want to do that. So okay, let's do that. Let's do that then. So there's two. Then football has the
Jackson State.
Now I guess because they're doing divisions in football, we have to give them their division in football and their title. So there's two for football.
Okay.
Then I don't think anybody else did anything in either of the other fall sports. Now, I don't know what that fall tennis thing that happened. That was something I think. I don't. Yeah. What was that? Huh?
You have to put cross country in.
FAMU didn't win cross country, did they? No, FAMU didn't win cross country this year. That was last year.
That was like, all right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. That's this year.
All right, my bad.
All right. So I don't know how. Maybe somebody in the chat can tell me how the fall tennis thing shook out. I know we had the young lady Sarah Rakim who won the overall individual tournament. So,
which one counts?
Well, but see, they only played doubles and singles. It wasn't a team thing.
So once again, I'm not going to. Whichever ones count towards the Commissioner's Cup, that's what we need to count.
That's a good question. I don't know if how the fall tennis
that fall stuff doesn't count. That's just like fall softball. Baseball.
Okay, it was something new, but let's put that to the side.
Same thing with golf.
We'll put it to the side. Huh?
Same thing with golf. All that stuff in the fall doesn't count towards.
Okay. All right. Winter season, neither FAMU or Jackson State won a regular season or the conference tournament in basketball, men or women's. Okay. Or bowling, right? Okay. So we're still at 2-2. Now we get into the spring, right? Men's golf. That's score one for FAMU, conference title.
Because they competed head to head.
Okay. That's 3-2. Then we go to tennis. Now here's where you get regular season title goes to Jackson State. Tournament goes to FAMU, right? 4-3. So now we're at 4-3. 4-3. Okay. Then we get into softball.
5-4.
FAMU wins the division. And Jackson State wins the tournament. So 5-4. Okay. Am I missing anything?
And now here's the monkey wrench.
Well, I mean, look, FAMU doesn't have soccer. I mean, and Jackson State has soccer. So what do you mean? I mean, come on now.
So if we didn't go head to head, let's throw it out.
What? Anyway, we were just.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. No. Well, and so what's left is track
and baseball
and baseball.
So
and I don't think Jackson State's baseball is going to do enough damage to even contend.
3 more opportunities, Brian.
3 more
Men's
opportunities.
Track, women's track, and baseball.
Who did Jackson State won the soccer? Did Jackson State win soccer?
They
did win soccer.
They did.
Okay, but hey, are we counting that? Because
we can't. If we can't count golf, we can't count soccer. If Jackson State doesn't play golf and FAMU doesn't play soccer, we can't count that.
All right, so it's either 5-5 or 4-4.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wait a minute. Southern. Thank you. Southern won the soccer. Get out of here. Whoever. See, come on, you guys. Man, you guys don't even know. You guys are just throwing stuff out there. Thank you, Edmond. Thank you,
Bryan. Can I ask the question?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, just to preface all this, we're all chasing Alabama State. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, especially since joining the SWAC, we know we brought our rival, and I'm putting my FAMU cap on right now. We know we brought our rival Bethune-Cookman in with us.
Oh boy!
All right. So the other rival from our day when we were in school, Bryan and I were in school, was Southern FAMU.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a whole generation of Rattlers and Jaguars who really knew nothing about that rivalry because they didn't play each other.
Yeah.
So now, for this current generation, since joining the SWAC, has FAMU Jackson State replaced the FAMU Southern rivalry that you and I knew?
For Florida A&M fans, I think so, because we can directly look at, and I think it starts again with football. We can look at those first 3 seasons of the FAMU Jackson State rivalry and how that spurred on all of the back and forth banter that goes on, whether it be on message boards or now social media. There's so many people. Southern is irrelevant. Look,
but I think for today's generation of Rattlers, and this is maybe a discussion that you guys can have on the ONG on Wednesday. I think they may be right. They may be onto something for Rattlers. Southern is not relevant. Jackson State is the relevant team to us. Obviously, we have Bethune-Cookman, which is always going to be there because that's our Florida rival, and those are our little brothers, our little cousins. Geographically, Alabama State is actually the closest school in the SWAC geographically to Florida A&M. But competitively, I think Florida A&M, Jackson State rival for this generation of Rattlers is the rivalry to them. And maybe even more so than the Bethune rivalry for this generation.
Now, let me flip that on this side for Jackson State folks, because we have some Jackson State folks here. Have you all gotten to a point of looking at FAMU as a rival, or because of the historical precedent that is still in place with being in the SWAC, do you still hold on to the Alcorn and the Southern rivalry as your top 2 rivals in the conference? I'd love to hear from you folks, Jackson State folks. Where do you rank FAMU among rivals in the conference? Is it still Alcorn is your number 1 rival? Is it Southern? Even though a lot of people saying, Southern has fallen off, or has FAMU officially become the rival in the conference?
I want to touch on this comment by Edmond. Yeah. Does that add to the rivalry?
How can you say it's not a rivalry, Edwin? Go back and
look
at.
But does the band portion of it add to it? Because between those 3 bands, the boom in the box, the 100 in the boom, the 100 in the box. There's especially Bryan, and I hate to say it, when the boom and the box tend to call the 100 out for not traveling to enemy territory.
I get it. I get it. I certainly get it. But I'll tell you, FAMU will travel. FAMU has shown a more willingness to travel to Southern than they will Jackson. And that was the case in the fall. And if my sources are correct, and looking at the expected travel plans for the Marching 100 in the fall, the Marching 100 is scheduled to travel to Southern in the fall. And that'll be interesting, you know, because I don't think Southern traveled to FAMU last year. So, you know, I don't know. It's interesting. You know, I'm curious. I'm seeing some of the comments in the chat. I don't think we have moved into full rival status yet amongst JSU folks. They're still holding, even though you got to admit, competitively, we are.
Each one has knocked the other one out of championship.
First of all,
Alabama State is not a rival to FAMU yet because Alabama State hasn't beat FAMU in too many things.
No.
You got to beat the other team in order for it to be a rival.
I mean, again, we can, and practically many of the majors. You got Alcorn and Southern. Okay, I mean, okay, I get it. I get it. You know, I get it. There's the history. So, you know, yes, internet rivals. Yes, most definitely, it has become that. It has definitely become that. I'm just curious what. And again, this is new. So I mean, I don't mean to. You definitely can't discredit years of history between Alcorn and Southern. You can't get rid of that, and I get it. We've only been in the FAMU's only been in the conference for 4 years. You've got 50, 60 years of rivalries. And geographic rivalries and generations that have grown up hating. So I get it. That's the.
Thank you, T-Bone. I like.
What do you say? The bands don't get points for the cup. Yeah. Well, you know, we do have a band of the year, which you know, Southern doesn't have, Jackson State doesn't have, you know. I don't know. Does that count? Does that count for anything? I don't know. Some people are saying
Grant, he says yes.
All right. So we'll see what the softball rankings or the tournaments come out here. Within the next hour, we'll know where Jackson State will end up, and we'll know where Howard will end up. So that'll be kind of interesting to see where those two teams wind up. So, all right. Let's take our first break, Drew, and then come back, kind of catch up on some other things, figure out what other stuff we're going to chat about here in today's show. And then I'm going to reach out. Okay, good. I just got confirmation. Charles Edmond will join us at the top of hour 2. So let's go ahead and take our break and get that in.
Let's go baseball.
Let's talk a little baseball. So save those chat comments if you would. We'll come back to them on the other side of the break. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. Hang tight with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, A.D, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D here on a Mother's Day evening. Want to say Happy Mother's Day to all of the folks watching us. If you are a mother, we say Happy Mother's Day to you, or maybe you had an opportunity to say Happy Mother's Day to an aunt or a sister, and a coach. Yeah, yes, you can say a coach. And then there's the other group, which, you know, I'm sadly a part of, that other group where those of us who don't have our mothers on this day, I hold personally a special place in my heart. I know how tough it is getting up in the morning, and you know, you see all those reminders, and so you know, thank God for photos, right? But so my thoughts are with those of you who don't have your mom in your life anymore, but you have hopefully you have plenty of good memories to hold on to on a day like today.
And Bryan, since we do it, I want to send a shout out to my mother back in St. Louis, Missouri, Lenora. Happy Mother's Day. I shot her a text this morning. She said I shot her a text too late because she was already at church. I apologize. When I called her later on, I apologized to her for that. She said my son shot her a text even later than I did, and she was in church. And she cuts her phone off at church, so she didn't get it to after church. So she hadn't returned his call yet. So
good for her. Good for her. Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff. All right.
Yeah, she sent me the list of stuff that she needs done around the house and asked for my contribution. So you know how that goes.
Sent you the Cash App or the Venmo number and say, "Wow."
My mother does not have Cash App, does not have Venmo. She may have Zelle, but I don't even think she realizes that she has Zelle. So usually what I have to do is I have to Cash App my cousin, and he has to take her the money.
There you go. Well, as long as it gets there, right? As long as it gets there, that's what counts. Good stuff. All right. We want to get into talking a little baseball. And you put a couple of stories in there from the minority baseball prospects Final Four.
HBCU Final Four.
I'm sorry, the what?
HBCU in there.
Okay. Okay. See, I never get the memo on what the official names are, so I always seem to mess this up, just like I did the basketball event. But All right. So give me the rundown on, obviously 4 became 3, and so for anybody who might have missed this event in Montgomery, Alabama this past week, give us the rundown if you would.
Yeah, 4 became 3. One of the original scheduled participants, Dillard, had to pull out less than 24 hours before the start of tournament due to some issues, and which sent the tournament organizers scrambling because, Brian, we got to think about this. Number one, it's finals week on most campuses if kids already weren't off campus because they had completed their finals. So finding a replacement at the last moment was tough. You know, if this had happened maybe a week earlier or even during the HBCU AC or the SIAC baseball tournament, you know, arrangements could have been made. But tournament was scheduled to open Thursday morning, and Wednesday morning is when they got the notice. I'll probably find out about an hour later after the organizers got the notice because I was there getting set up because I worked the tournament. Not only did I do play-by-play on the broadcast, but I was the official scorer also. So that did a 2-for-1. So if you happen to catch that on Minority Prospects on MPTV, you know, shout it out if y'all happen to watch that on MPTV or on the Maroon Tiger Sports Network, which we also simulcast the game on. So that forced the tournament to become more of a true round robin to make sure everybody got their games in. Now let's throw the next monkey wrench into it, Brian, because there was with the 4th team dropping out and the tournament, it going from a tournament to more of a showcase. Tuskegee with graduation on that Saturday, and Tuskegee being the local team, quote unquote local team, they made arrangements so Tuskegee did not have to play on Saturday, since there was no opportunity to win a true championship because of the team pulling out. That's wrinkle number 2. And then for those who've been in the Southeast this week, since about Wednesday or Thursday, know that we've been dealing with rain in the Southeast, forced schedule changes and postponements throughout the SWAC tournament. When we get into SWAC baseball, we'll see how the rain impacted the SWAC baseball schedule, but it also impacted the schedule in this event. So it forced everything. It forced it to go from a 3-day event to a 2-day event, Brian. So that's it. That's it in a nutshell. Miles went undefeated, winning 3 games in the event. They beat Morehouse twice. They beat Morehouse in the game, the finale of the tournament. Miles defeated.
Hold on, Drew. Something happened to your mic and your audio there. You kind of went into a tunnel there for a second.
Can you hear me now?
You're better.
Is that better? How about if I set it back down? Am I still
good? It's good. It's still good. Something happened where it sounded like you went into a tunnel.
All right. Well, cord may have touched or something.
Gotcha.
But
so you were saying about Tuskegee, how many games did they win?
Miles won. Let's see. Let me pull. And this article, you can find my coverage. Actually, I was doing triple duty also, Brian, because I was writing for Black College Nines also while I was there. Miles won game 1 by a score of 5-0 over Tuskegee. Over Morehouse, excuse me. Held Morehouse to only 1 hit in the first game. So Brandon Leroy scored after being hit by a pitcher, later driven in by a sacrifice fly from Williams in the 2nd inning. In the 3rd inning, Copen drove in a run. In the 4th inning, Spruill added a run with an RBI ground out. And in the 5th inning, Miles tacked on 2 insurance runs, fueled by aggressive base running and another RBI from Copeland, who finished 2 for 3 with 2 stolen bases and 2 RBIs in the particular game. And in game 2, Morehouse, Tuskegee defeated Morehouse by a score of 2-1. So in that game, that was pretty. I believe Morehouse Tuskegee scored in the 6th inning, and Morehouse scored in the 7th. Left the bases loaded in the 7th inning, and were not able to get that second run across in the 7th inning. Moving on to Friday. Friday, Tuskegee Miles 12, Tuskegee 5. Miles tacked on multiple runs throughout the game. Miles jumped out to a first a 2-1 lead, then a 6-1 lead due to some fielding blunders by Tuskegee. That lead grew to 8-1 after the 4th inning before Tuskegee decided to make a run. Tuskegee tacked on 2 in the 5th, another one in the 6th, and one final one in the 7th, leaving the final score at Miles 12, Tuskegee 5. And the last game, Brian, of the day, Miles defeated Morehouse 2-1, but the game was shortened to 5 innings because of rain. After the top of the 5th inning, the rain came in, and both coaches, since it was an official game at that point, decided to call it, and that's where we wound up with a 2-1 score. Miles scored 2 in the bottom of the 3rd on a hit batter and a wild pitch, and then Morehouse scored 1 in the 4th when T.J. Whiteman scored on an error, reached on an error, advanced on the walk, and scored on a ground out by by Vernon Clay. And once again, Morehouse had an opportunity to score with bases loaded in the top of the 5th inning and were unable to get the run across. So you can read more about this on blackcollege9s.com, my summary on both of those games.
All right. So it brings me to the question that I have to ask, given the fact that, we were both, obviously we were there for the very inaugural Black College World Series, which had a 3-year run. Obviously did not happen this year.
Actually had a 4-year run.
Had a 4-year run, excuse me, a 4-year run. This year would this year have been year 5?
Yes, this would have been
really?
Yeah. 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Okay. I thought, okay. So this would have been year 5. Unfortunately, year 5 did not happen due to the passing of Michael Coker, who was one of the organizers of it, and a very large figure in this event. And then you have in this year, you have what minority baseball prospects put together. So the question on the floor, what, and this is pure speculation, because this is a lot of planning a lot of thought has to go into it. But is this type of event something that, and as you talk to coaches, is this something that you see coaches wanting to continue doing? Can this survive, whether it be new organizers or whomever? What's the viability of this concept of bringing a postseason tournament to obviously your non-NCAA qualifying or NAIA qualifying teams?
Well, Brian, what this comes down to is, number one, obviously the number one thing is going to be money. Finding a title sponsor for this. Tyson so graciously sponsored years 2, 3, and 4 of the Black College World Series.
Right.
So but their sponsorship ended after those 4 years. So finding a title sponsor would be number one. Finding a media partner would be number 2. Once you get past those 2 hurdles, I think there is a willingness for this to be out here. But Brian, I will be honest, there is not room for 2 events. I think there needs to be one or the other. I don't think the appetite is large enough right now to have 2 competing events at the same time.
Yeah.
So and here's the other thing, and this is why the sponsorship is key, because I don't care what institution you're at right now, this is that time of the year with the budget. Number one, some institutions are scraping at the budget, honestly, hoping that your team does not make it to whatever playoff it is, baseball, softball.
That's facts. That's
track,
truth right there.
You know,
that's true.
Golf, tennis, whatever it is. You have people scraping. So that's why the sponsorship becomes key. So that even if the teams do not actually get a check out of this, Bryan, where it is zero cost to the teams and the institutions. That's number one. That's going to be the key. And then what the teams that do participate, what are they playing for? Some teams, this was an opportunity to give the seniors a chance to walk off on their own terms, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
In a two-way, we gonna let you start this game. You may throw 25, 30 pitches. I'm gonna come out there and get you, and we're gonna give you a standing applause. We may let you pinch hit, bat, get on first base. I send a pinch runner in for you so that you can get your applause. That's the mentality of some of the teams, and nothing wrong with that, Bryan. And then you have other teams that are building for the future, trying to get some of these young players in. Because if I'm a graduating senior, I'm gonna be honest, Bryan, I don't know if I'm giving up walking across that stage for this event. NCAAs, possibly. NAIAs, possibly. But this, I'm not 100% sure of that. You know, or if I'm going, I'm coming day one, day two, but I'm going home on Friday night so I can walk across that stage Saturday. So, you know, those are some of the things that you have to look at and make sure that there's a solution for whatever the teams want them to be. One of the things that Minority Prospects did that they did not do in the Black College World Series, all these games were 7-inning games versus the Black College World Series where everything was a regulation 9-inning game. So that was one adjustment, and that was at the request of the coaches.
Okay.
So, you know, being able to make those adjustments, you know, format. I would love to see, I tell you what I don't like is with the Black College World Series, the actual double elimination tournament format. I don't like that in this situation. I like more of a showcase type tournament, round robin. Everybody plays, you know, you can have two brackets, and then the bracket champions come out, play for the championship. You can even have a consolation with that so that you get a variety of teams. Once again, it takes a little bit of the pressure off. You still want to win, but I like it kind of in that format where it's not win or go home. That way everybody comes, they know they're going to get X amount of games, and you can plan your pitching accordingly, not in a true tournament time format where you know what happens when you get to the losers bracket.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Because a lot of kids are going to play summer league. Some of them are trying to get minor league contracts. So we need to use it to set these kids up for future success. And last thing, Bryan, this is a last opportunity for some of these kids, both NA and NCAA level, to get that last bullet point, to get that last data point for some postseason awards that they may have gotten from the conference, to get those on the national and regional level, or to, and let's flip that, or to possibly lose some awards that they may have had an opportunity to get. Because you can't go 0 for a tournament like this and still expect to get regional and national awards.
No, that's true.
But you can have a 5 for 8 tournament or a 6 for 9 type tournament and put yourself in a better position to get some national type awards.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see.
Talk about the two formats for informational purposes again only. And that was from Dr. Cavill. All right, Dr. Cavill. What I would like to see, if let's say we have a 6 teams. Let's say we have 3 NAIA teams, 3 NCAA teams compete in this in a postseason event. You break those teams into two 3-team pods. So pod 1, everybody plays everybody. A plays B, B plays C, A plays C. So you got those 3 games, and you do the same thing in pod 2. They don't cross over.
You're playing two games guaranteed. 2 games guaranteed.
You get 3 guaranteed games, but you get 2 in your pod. So now you can take pod A champion versus pod B champion for your championship. Pod A second place versus pod B second place for a consolation. And you could even take the 3rd place teams for a 3rd consolation. You play 3 different opponents, and that way, under that format, Dr. Kavir, because we all know pitching is a premium, especially at this time of the season. A lot of these teams are coming off of postseason runs where they have used 2-way players, your midweek starter, and that kid who ain't did nothing but throw bullpens in practice to pitch in some of these tournaments. So you're able to better control your pitching under the format similar to what I'm proposing. And you could do it with 8 teams. You break them up into 2 4-team pods, Brian. And you may go
in that case, I would only take the top 2 teams. Or maybe break it down to a 4-team, basically a 4-team playoff.
2 14 pods, take your 2 champions, play for a championship.
I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't even do the second 4-team. I would just just say
if you have 8 teams, 2 14 pods.
Right. Can you get guaranteed 3 games?
You play everybody in your pod. The other group
top 2 teams go to the playoffs.
Yeah, the 2 winners come out. And if you want to, you could do a consolation with that. But place 3, place 5, and place 7, let them go home because they got their 3 games in. My thing is get them 3 games, get them 3 separate opponents.
Yeah.
That's what
I challenge. I think now all that said, you not only have the challenge of facilities, you got to be able, because wherever you play, you got to be able to. Now that even too, that may spur you on to have shorter games instead of the 9-inning games. You go to the 7-inning games because if you're, traditionally you can, if a 9-inning game, you can get 3 games on a field.
Yeah, 4 games is tough.
4 games is tough.
But 4 with 7 innings is very achievable.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what happens with what you see in softball.
Right.
Softball gets 7 innings.
And for your championship game, you could go 9 with that one
if you want. Yeah.
No, I'll go a full 9 with my championship.
Yeah. Game. Let me read this before we go to our break and then go to our guests. Let me read this info regarding the NAIA. Can you hold? Go ahead.
Because it's on this tournament. One last thing. One thing that I did like that Minority Prospects did, they started their games at 9:00 in the morning, even though they only had 2 games a day. They did that to invite the school systems out to the ball games, Brian. They had almost 6,000 people in the stadium for game 1.
That, and it's funny you say that because that is something that I don't think
over 2,000 on for game 2 on day 1 for the 12 o'clock game, and on day 2 they had about 1,800 for the single game that they played that morning. That was the one thing that they got right, because if you saw those lines at those concession stands, and let's just assume that they got that facility for free, Riverwalk Stadium made their money in hot dogs, nachos, and Cokes. There was never a line at the concession stand. And when I say there were times when I saw that line was 50 and 100 deep at the multiple concession stands, they were.
And that wasn't the case when the other event was held there in that same park.
And the kids everybody got in free. There was no admission charge.
Well, yeah, because you're gonna get your money back at the concession stand. Yeah. So genius. Congratulations to Minority Baseball Prospects, and we'll talk more about the prospects of what the future looks like. I'll put a pin on that other news note. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about it. Hopefully at the end of the show. But let's take our next break, and then a real quick break, and come back with Charles Edmond. We'll get a chance to hear from the voice of the 2025 SWAC softball tournament, as Charles did a yeoman's job.
I think we got another challenge. Charles. So be prepared to tell us about this challenge coming out this break.
All right. We'll be back after this short break. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan A.D. and joining us is none other than the voice of not just Alcorn State sports, but the voice of the 2025 SWAC softball tournament, Charles Edmond. Charles, you still have a voice for us this evening? Nope. Nothing but hand signals. I got you, man.
Yeah, sign language. Yeah.
Oh man, it's good to have you on the show, man. Thanks for taking some time out to join us. How far away is it from Gulfport to your home?
About 2.5 hours.
Okay,
you get on I-20 and you get on 49 South, and 49 South is a major thoroughfare through the state of Mississippi, Hattiesburg. It's a lot of traffic. It's Mother's Day. So folks are on the road. So it could take almost 3 hours with traffic, but about 2.5 on most days.
Gotcha. Well, what an exciting weekend. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people commenting and appreciating all the work that you did, going from pretty much all but 2 of the games, and that was the games in which they had to split up. And I missed. I did not catch who the other broadcast team was. Do you want to shout out who was that who called the other 2 games when they split up on that rain delayed day.
Charles Porter. He's actually the voice of the Prairie View Panthers, and of course he was there because Prairie View was there. And so, Charles Porter filled in on the other field, did a really good job. I mean, Charles Porter had the easy games because on those 2 fields you had the 2 5-inning games. So Charles Porter had it easy over there. But look, it was a great tournament. It was very competitive. I think you had 9 games that were 1-run games, a lot of good pitching. And, congratulations, first of all, to FAMU. I mean, I'm gonna throw it out there right now, right off the bat. Coach did a terrific job with that team winning the East. That's probably going to be the last time we're going to say East and West in softball because
I saw you mention that. You talked about that.
Yeah. We're probably going to – I mean, the coaches kind of want it. So I think come next month with the spring meetings, I think they're going to vote it out. So like baseball, you're not going to have divisions. You're going to have the top 8. So I didn't know that there was that much oxygen for it. Now, there's one coach in particular that says, no way, Jose. This coach is not for it, but it's a 2/3 majority. So this coach might be in the minority on it. But
he'll be all right.
Yeah, Coach Beal did a great job. I mean, I learned a lot about her this weekend. Very feisty, very intense.
Oh, yeah.
And you just have to get a little bit of dose of the old medicine because in the 2 days, she called Jackson State out for a player leaving early. They reviewed it. And in fact, that was the case. And then Shaky Montgomery comes right back. And hey, I mean, that's the way it goes. You don't want to see a championship won like that. You hate to see that, but that's just a part of the game. And I hope coaches next year, when they talk to their teams and go over situational softball, you better go over that because that's going to be looked at. And I think that's going to be something that's definitely going to be a part of this thing going forward.
Dawes, question on that. Do you think part of that was due to the fact that we do not have replay during the regular season and you get your timing based on certain patterns and when the arm angle gets to a certain point? So with the naked eye, obviously none of the officials called it with the naked eye. But because of the technology during the tournament, you have it and you utilize it. And players were slow or refused to make the adjustment.
Yep, I think that's the case. And it happened 3 times, I think, in the last day. And it was overturned 3 times. The player did leave early. And you are right. We don't have that technology during the course of the year. And, hey, and I was expecting one of those to get, to stay as called because it was so tight. That last one, for example, the one that ended the game, I thought it was pretty tight. But the other 2 that Coach Beal challenge looked pretty obvious from the replay because we can see if you watch the broadcast, you're getting angles from first base, you're getting angles from that third base side. But that last one, the one today, I thought was kind of tight, but the other 2 seemed a little bit more obvious than the one today.
And that half a step or quarter step from what I was able to see from the broadcast was literally the difference on the safe out from because you had at least 2 of those. You had good plays from the catcher on the throw and the tag by the shortstop and the second baseman. One of them, it was kind of she was there. The last one, matter of fact, the last one, she was there. Because there was no throw, but by rule, she left early. I wish we could use some of the common sense portion of it since there was no play. No, seriously, since there was no play on the runner, it shouldn't even be challengeable, but it is a rule. So I can't argue with you on that one.
Yeah, I hadn't seen, I mean, there was 3 times it was done. And I think last year you saw it a time or 2 as well, but this one, coaches are using every little advantage that they can get. And, with the intensity of this game being for the championship. And so I get it. I mean, as a fan, you don't want it. You don't want the championship to end like that. I mean, just as a fan, I'm stepping out of it now, but you don't want to see it end like that. But Coach Montgomery, Shaky Montgomery. He is, and for those who might not know Shaky Montgomery, I've known him for 20 years. He just celebrated a birthday the other day. He's a little bit younger than me. Has been a coach at 4 SWAC schools, including associate head coach at Alabama State, Jackson, Alcorn, UAPB. Shaky Montgomery, is the name reflects him. He likes to shake it up. He likes to keep the pot stirred. That's exactly how he is. And after the game, some of the comments
he definitely did that. He definitely did that, boy.
He definitely did that.
We're gonna talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, he definitely did that unexpected. I was not expecting that. And I found out a little bit later that was on the back end of it. There were some things, from my understanding, that were said about his team yesterday, and this was kind of a continuation of that, what he said today. I disagree with the comments that he made about talking about this was Coach Patterson's team. I mean, I'm sorry, Shaky. I'm sorry that wasn't necessary. That wasn't needed. But there obviously was some frustration from his part based on what was said the day before. And so I think that was just kind of carrying over. And Coach Beal addressed that with Coach Montgomery after the game.
I was going to talk about replay a little bit more, but
hold on. Let's come back to it because let's talk about this. No, let's talk about replay for a second because there's all kinds of juicy stuff that came out of this.
Can I go 2 more things on replay?
Yeah, let's stick to replay for a second. Let's see if you hit some of the stuff that I was thinking about. Go ahead.
Well, number one, I was thinking about, and I can't remember which game it was, Charles, where we had the foul ball changed to an HBP based on replay.
Yeah.
Talk about that one.
Well,
which game was that? Which team?
I can't remember which game it was.
That was Bethune-Cookman's game. That was when you had all this confusion, and it was a HBP. I talked to the umpires about that last night in the hotel, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on with that? Because first of all, we got absolutely no instruction, no direction from the umpire in terms of what was challenged other than the HBP. As it turned out, the batter was hit on the shoelace.
Oh,
true. That is true. So is it on the shoelace? Now, I didn't see it. The replay that I saw from behind home plate clearly did not show that. But what the umpires see, they're looking at another angle, and the director of umpires is in the room with the replay official, James Crenshaw, and there was an angle that showed the ball hitting the shoelace. Now, I did hear and I did mention shoelace, but then
I didn't know what you were talking about, but I heard it.
I mean, they hit the shoelace. Hey, that's a part of it. Just like the umpires told me yesterday, when you see these players wearing the towels around their waist, the towel is a part of the uniform. So if it hits the towel, that's a HBP. The umpires will tell you to either tuck it in or take the towel off. And then we had that in the game today. One of the players had the towel loosely, and so she took the towel off and just threw it out of play altogether. She didn't even use it. But that was all of that confusion, AD Drew. The bottom line is the ball hit the shoelace with that. And that angle I did not see, and we did not get any information about hitting the shoelace until someone said 10 minutes later that that's what happened.
All right. Obviously, we saw some bang plays at first base that went kind of both ways. But the one I wanted to ask about, and you were there, I believe this was Wednesday, Bryan, with the catcher for FAMU. Why is
the runner interference?
The runner interference. The ball. Wait a minute. The ball.
This is the FAMU. This is in the FAMU Alabama State game. FAMU Alabama State game on day 2.
Deflects off of the runner to the shortstop. Shortstop tries to tag or something along those lines. Go back through that. What happened real time? And then when they went to the booth or to the replay, what was the ultimate outcome? Because obviously during that point in time, you did not know that.
That was a big play too.
You didn't get the information right then and there, but I'm pretty sure you got it later.
Yeah, well, what it turned out was that it was interference on Spooner, the catcher. That was what it turned out to be. It was a shot off the pitcher, deflected. Spooner was between second and third. The ball deflected off the pitcher, and it actually hit Spooner. But there was collision between Spooner and the shortstop. And so I thought the ball hit Spooner before all of that contact. And if it did hit Spooner, she's out. If the ball hits Spooner, she is out.
But and I'm going back to what I know as an official. Once that ball is touched by a player beyond the pitcher, then that comes off from all the training that I was aware of. If that's off of the bat, yes, you are correct, Charles. But once somebody has an opportunity to cleanly field the ball, which the pitcher did because it deflected off of her glove, then that train wreck when they collide and the ball hit her becomes a nothing from what I was always taught. Now, maybe I was wrong. Maybe the rule has changed because I haven't called college softball since pre-pandemic. But help me through whether you were able to ascertain on that.
I mean, all I could say is that if there was a collision there, but there was a tangle up between the shortstop and Spooner, and they called the obstruction on Spooner, so she was out. That was a big play in that game, as Bryan mentioned. There were quite a few obstruction calls throughout the tournament, and it's players get tangled up and things like that happen. You're in the way, you're in the path, you're in the baseline. But there were quite a few calls like that. But that was a big play in the game, and they did call Spooner on the obstruction. I was kind of a surprise to me because it was just a tangle up there, and they obviously they felt like Spooner was obstructed or obstructed the shortstop.
So the deflection
didn't matter. Right.
Yeah.
I thought what they were going to the replay to see was did the contact occur before or after the deflection? That's the only reason I thought they were going to replay, which would have been fine under my interpretation. But I guess that's why I'm at home watching instead of out there on the field in blue.
Yeah, you're correct about that. And but I just thought that could have gone either way.
Without the deflection, that ball is going behind Spooner,
right,
and not towards her. Without the deflection, I mean, the deflection,
and the shortstop changes direction because of the deflection, which causes the collision.
Right. Yeah.
I would have been fussing. I would have been arguing the hell out of that one. I know Bill argued a lot of calls, but still.
Yeah. Well, I think Bill was more frustrated on some of the calls more so than anything. The one earlier today in which she pulled out the cell phone.
Let's talk about that. What was that? What was that about?
I never got anything on that. Believe it or not, I never got anything about it. The umpire didn't even address it. I mean, I thought that whatever issue she had, the conversation was over. And I think the way Bill was kind of talking about it, like the umpire kind of agreed to let her bring out the cell phone and let's look at it. But that wasn't going to happen. I mean, she was obviously confused because she thought that she was going to be able to show whatever evidence. Maybe it was a rule. I mean, when you bring out the cell phone, I mean, there's obviously you got the rule book right there on your phone and you can explain it. But I mean, it wasn't any video or anything. That's the only thing I could come up with. But the umpires did acknowledge going forward that there's got to be more communication with us and the fans. And I've mentioned it on the broadcast. They're going to present to the SWAC that I guess the head crew chief is going to be mic'd up, tied into the PA system. And when there is a review, just like you see on television, the previous play is under review for obstruction, for player leaving early, and then they'll review it, and then they'll come back upon further review. I think that's something that they're going to look at going forward. And I hope they have it for baseball because baseball is going to be crazy, I think, with all the runs scored and the lack of pitching or whatever. So I think it's going to be a lot of that going on in baseball, and I hope they have it for baseball. But for softball,
and that's something they can do in the next 2 weeks is figure that out.
Yeah, they can. But, for the umpires, I talked to them last night, and they said that going forward that there's something they'll work with the SWAC on. And I think that's an easy fix. Get somebody up with a wireless mic, click it on, and give us the information.
As it relates to challenges, my last thought about or question regarding challenges, the rule, and Drew was talking about this earlier, the rule is you get 2, and you pretty much keep those as long as you're winning them. If you lose them, you lose it, right?
Right.
So did you do any kind of unofficial count as to who used the most challenges? Or even if you just unofficially in your mind, who seemed to have the most challenges during the tournament?
I think Coach Beal.
Yeah.
I think Coach Beal, she was very intentional with her challenges. You know, when you think that there's something that she wouldn't challenge, she did. So I would say of all the coaches, I would say Coach Beal. I mean, you're ready to move on to the next pitch, and here she comes. and look, I mean, that's fine. I mean, look, you're playing for a championship. You're not. The one thing I like about her, and I think it kind of threw Jackson off a little bit. She slowed the game down. I mean, yesterday I know she came out 8 times to talk to her pitcher, catcher, and defense. A couple of times, brought the whole infield.
Yeah, how many times do you get with that? Because I know they created limitations in the professional leagues, baseball. But I mean, do you have a certain number of times that you can go out there?
I don't think you do, because unless you're changing pitchers, I mean, you can go out there. I mean, she went out 8 times yesterday, I believe, and she didn't make a pitching change. She brought the clipboard out.
You get one defensive per half inning.
Huh?
You get one defensive per half inning. You get one freebie per half inning.
Yeah.
And
so
then
she was taking advantage of that. And I understood what she was doing. I mean, she was slowing the game down, and I think it paid off for her just to make sure everybody was on the same page with that. So I get it. I understand it. And it paid off because she was able to line up her defense and get some key outs, and her pitching was terrific. She said she got 3 number ones. I agree with that. But I'm going to say this about softball overall. You know, I love the low scoring games. We only had 2 5-run games, but all of us need some more pitching. All of us need probably, I think, in my opinion, you got to have 4 pitchers. Some teams got by with 3. FAMU got by with 3. Jackson got by with 3. Some had 2. I think you need 4. Now, how that looks like in terms of roster and all of that, I don't know. But you need 4 pitchers, because we had a situation years ago when Alabama State won the tournament. I said this during the broadcast. Bailey Greenleaf, she pitched the whole tournament, or 99.9% of the tournament.
Wow.
And someone texted me, and it's true, and I mentioned it, that in softball it's not as much mechanics. You can throw a lot of pitches in softball, but my gosh, you're talking about a pitcher throwing 140 pitches, and that may not seem a lot, but maybe just the fan in me says that is a whole lot, considering a
legendary status. That's legend status right there.
Yeah, and it's just, and so most of the teams had 3, but they were riding 1.5. But I think, in my opinion, if most of our teams have 4 good arms, and FAMU had 3. Jackson had 3. I think you'll see a lot more mixing and matching and pitching changes to where you keep pitchers fresh. Because FAMU didn't even pitch Zoriana Hughes today. Yeah. And I thought that was interesting, because Zoriana Hughes, she shut out Jackson State during the course of the season. So I thought maybe, you would see Zoriana Hughes for the winner-take-all game, or at least she would at least have an appearance. But it was low scoring enough to where she wasn't needed. So I get that part of it.
All right, let me go. Let me throw a question or 2 in there, so that way you folks in the chat don't think I'm not giving Jackson State any kind of love for winning this tournament. And I'm gonna ask this amongst the Eastern Division. Obviously, this current format of East versus West. And the fact that the Eastern Division had all 4 teams advance to the Final 4, for all intents and purposes. They went 6-0 against teams in the West. And I noted, a lot of the postseason awards went to Prairie View, and they were bounced in 2 and probably didn't score until the bottom of that last game, of that elimination game against Bethune. But talk a little bit about what you saw from Jackson State and just the Eastern Division teams in comparison to the West?
I think the Eastern Division brought more pitching to the table than the Western Division. Southern University, Texas Southern, they got good pitching, but I think the Eastern Division was a little bit more pitching heavy than the West, in my opinion. FAMU has 3 good pitchers. Jackson, Texas Southern, I think, used 2. Grambling, of course, used the young lady. She threw 137 pitches. So I think on the Eastern side, they've got a little bit more pitching. I think the West is a little bit more, and I've said this in baseball from time to time. To me, it seems like the West is more bat heavy and the East is more pitching heavy, in my opinion. Prairie's not a team that scores a bunch of runs, but they can. But we didn't see that. Prairie View had that one skunk, but they were struggling to score. Grambling was struggling to score, although they had decent pitching. Texas Southern was struggling to score. And so I think that's, in my opinion, that's what I saw on the Eastern side, that there's just maybe one more arm for Eastern Division teams than Western Division teams. But FAMU had it all. They had the pitching and they had the timely hitting, but they just left too many runners on base.
Yeah. What was that number? You had a stat. You were tracking in the 40s, maybe 50 by the time it was all said and done.
Yeah, I think they probably left 45 or 46 runners on base.
Right. Now, if you average that per game, because obviously you get a high number because FAMU played, if I'm not mistaken, 7 games.
Yeah.
Compared to Jackson State only playing 4.
Yeah.
But if you do it by average, though, you're talking
probably about 8 a game.
8 a game, yeah.
That's just FAMU had their opportunities.
No.
But they just did not cash in. And look, I think the way Jackson won it today was kind of the way FAMU got it done yesterday. Some seeing eye base hits, and so low scoring. But I'm really impressed with FAMU, and I hope Coach Beal can. And I'll just share this with everybody. I know you didn't see it, but after the game, after Coach Beal huddled up with her team for the last time, and while the award ceremony was going on, I took a picture of it because I'm going to reference it.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I saw it. I think I know where you're going to go.
Coach Beal was standing out in right center field all by herself.
I saw it.
Just taking it all in. I don't know who saw it, and you saw it. And so I took a picture of that, and that's something I will reference going forward with her. But they definitely have the right coach. I counted. I think they only got 3 seniors, and so
3 or 4. Yeah.
So with that, they're gonna. Zoriana Hughes will be back. She'll be a junior, and so I think that if she continues to build it, I think FAMU will be right back there next year. We're gonna probably do away with division, so we'll probably be talking about East and West probably 1 or 2 more times in softball. But the oxygen in the room is they're gonna do away with it, just like baseball, and so we'll see how that looks. But that's kind of the energy that's going on right now with softball as far as divisions are concerned.
So help me. What was some of the talk with? Obviously they do the postseason awards on Monday before the tournament starts.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped trying to. First off, I understand who the SWAC voters are. It's coaches and SIDs, correct? That's who the voters are. So what I couldn't understand. Well, I don't want to say I couldn't understand it because my co-host Kelvin Rozier, who's in the chat, he has a very strong theory as to the votes. But how is it that, and I know, Jackson State's coach has some thoughts about whose team this was this year, but for Coach Beal to come in October, Charles, which is like a week before fall ball starts, and yes, have to take over a team that was already sort of in place, that is not an easy task to do because you have to not only be able to get a team to be able to buy into her way in her style, in her voice, okay, that team still went out and repeated as East Division champs, right? And I mean, you know, I know the non-conference doesn't matter, but played a tougher non-conference than the number one team on the West. No players on first team, you know, no players on first team, no coach of the year. I mean, I was a little shocked. And I look, who am I? People say I'm a fan. I get it. And, you know, I'm not going to go so far as to say there should be a level of embarrassment. But I was just shocked, Charles. I was really shocked in the lack of acknowledgement or recognition for the type of season that they had in winning the East.
Yeah.
I don't know. What was the talk amongst folks as it related to the postseason awards?
There really wasn't any.
Okay. Well, see, that's just me talking.
To be honest with you, FAMU had their share today when they did the all tournament team. FAMU definitely had their share. Spooner.
I saw it.
And so Spooner had the only home run hit on the field that we had, the walk off. But you know, FAMU got their love in the tournament. There's no doubt about that. But again, I just think we all know who votes in this preseason stuff, and it's not going to change unless the coaches want it to change. I have been an advocate for it. I've talked with my coach at Alcorn to try to get other coaches to get more media types that follow this stuff to vote to kind of help balance the scales. But there doesn't seem to be any traction for that. I think it's a little more politics. You know, coaches want I hook you up, you hook me up. I do think some of that's going on. I might be wrong about that, but I think some of that's going on. I do. I mean, because it is about the student athlete. So I think coaches want to get the love and the shine for their players. I get it. But, you know, that's a conversation that we've had, and Carlos Brown and others for years. And in order for it to change, the coaches, whether it's the basketball coaches, the baseball coaches, the softball coaches, have to get together and want it to change. And the commissioner kind of mentioned it a little bit in my interview with him. But he did tell me years ago, if the coaches vote to add media members to the ballot, he will sign off on that right away. It won't go that high up the flagpole. He will rubber stamp that and it's done. But if the coaches don't want it, it's not going to happen. And so I think that's where the challenge is. Unfortunately, we have turnover in coaches. We got a new coach at Alcorn, of course, a new coach at FAMU, new coach at Alabama State. So that turnover always makes it a challenge because you got to bring people up to speed. So that's kind of the challenge with the different coaches and the turnover. But it's tough, Brian. I agree with you, and you're a FAMU guy, and I get it. And I know people love their schools and want to see the love for their respective schools. But I think until we can all come together and be on one accord, I think it's going to continue to flip-flop. It's going to change. It's going to be some head scratchers. It's going to make you wonder what in the heck's going on. And I think that's kind of where we are until we can get some other voices, some other opinions to kind of straighten things out and say, look at this. Look at the data points. Look at this. Look at that. Look at strength of schedule. I think until you get that, I think you're going to continue to have what you have.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated, and I know people argue about this in football as well, in terms of how some of the voting turns out, and it always brings up, and I always wonder, and I don't know if you've ever asked Dr. McClellan this, the transparency with releasing the vote totals. You know, how close was it? Not, you know, and I don't need to know who voted for whom, but was it a close race? You know, I mean, I don't know. I think a little transparency might quiet the noise that people like myself and others make.
I think so, but again, I think the conference kind of keeps stuff like that close to the vest. I don't see that changing, and I don't even know if anyone's even brought it up. Okay. You know, I would imagine someone has. If I were just to take a wild guess, I think it probably has been nudged like, look, would you like to release and see how close the vote was? I think it probably has been brought up if I were to take a guess. And the conference,
I mean, they released the team. They released the team predictions like at the preseason. You know, they released those numbers. I don't know where the harm or foul would be in releasing the numbers at the end of the year.
I don't see it either. But either two things: either it has been mentioned and they've decided not to do it, or it hasn't been mentioned quite as strongly. We got media day coming up, and I think that'll be something I will ask the commissioner going forward. Is that something that I'm sure Andrew Roberts, who handles the media for the SWAC office, I'm sure I can probably ask Andrew about it, and I think I can get the answer from him. But I think that's the conference has kind of kept that info close to the vest. And I do see the comments, even some podcasters and others kind of a little bit biased. Yeah. But I would just like to see a little bit more range other than the SI. And look, even the media relations directors and AD Drew knows this, SIDs change out just like you change socks in this conference. And it's just, I'm just being honest. That's just kind of the way it works. Sure, and so we have that change. Then they got to be brought up to speed. And do they know about preseason all conference? And they're just walking in the door July 1 or May 1 or January 1. So you have that dynamic going on. I know about it. I don't talk about it, but that's just the reality of where it is. And AD Drew knows this probably better than anybody.
Charles, I'm probably gonna get my CSC card removed for these comments that I'm about to make.
That's You want me to hit mute for you, Drew, as you get started?
If I start cussing, just put the
Wait, I've heard enough cussing on the post game with Coach Montgomery.
But no,
at the end of the post game.
Seriously, every conference that I've been involved in, when it comes to people who are my equivalent making those type decisions, Charles, players of the year, coach of the year, etc., etc., etc. One thing that I have been frustrated with, well, let's start with the nomination process. Obviously, we know each team only gets X amount of people per position. You get one for player of the year. You may get, we'll just take baseball and softball. You get one person for shortstop. You may get 3 starting pitchers, etc., etc., etc. Couple things. Number one, especially baseball and softball more than any other sport, because of the challenging with stats out there. Because unlike basketball, which has a common stat system, unlike football, which has a common stat system, there are multiple ways to keep baseball and softball stats. And sometimes those stats do not translate over properly to the school website, which at the same time do not translate over properly to the conference website. And you don't realize this until you go to nominate for player of the year and your player's stats do not populate to what you have on by your records. That's issue number one. That's something all 4 of our conferences need to standardize so that you don't have that problem. Because your name, for instance, may be C. Edmond on one stat file, then it's Charles Edmond on another stat file, and then somebody else has Charles Edmonds plural because they don't know your name is not plural. So, and that means instead of all your stats being combined, there are 3 different files out there for you in that instance, Charles. And going through and manually putting that together, doing everything else that a person in that position has to do just to keep up with the daily demands, is time consuming.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, this is just a personal beef with me. You get the stats, and then you get an opportunity to write comments about why you think Brian Fulford deserves to be SWAC Pitcher of the Year. This is just me. If you do not take the time to write me 2 sentences on why Brian Fulford should not be a candidate, chances are I'm not going to consider Brian Fulford for a candidate. That's just a me thing. Because in my opinion, that's just lazy. He's good enough for the numbers. He should be good enough for you to come up with 2 sentences. Hell, put it in there and let AI give you 2 sentences on them. I don't care. but write something up. Now, and the reason that's important because Charles and Brian have similar stats. So I need a little something to push me one way or the other. That's why that's important to have that write-up, because sometimes you really cannot distinguish between player 1 and player 2. And then you got all your other biases. You know, you had somebody who hit 420 on a team, but your team was 4-18 on the season. Does that player deserve to get a first team or second team all conference? Well, he's got the numbers, but his team record was crap. You know, those are personal decisions. I'm not gonna fuss about those. But you know, when it's all said and done, Charles, we have got to get better with our process, and we've got to take the time to involve to look at the whole picture. And you know, sometimes the sports information director or equivalent votes for the institution. Sometimes it's a coach and the sports information director voted, depending on which sport it is. If as a sports information director, I hold the vote for the entire institution, am I involving the coach in the process? Coach, let me get your opinion on these, because I may have seen 80% of these players, as 20% of these players I haven't seen. And hopefully this is the last year we have to deal with this. With the divisions, all stats aren't equal when it comes to divisions. You know, so you know, obviously, and this is the perfect first time, Charles, do you ever remember all 4 teams from either side making it to the semifinals? And I'm thinking of any sport where we had divisions, where you had your final 4 were from East or West. I can't think of any time where I have ever seen that in any of our conference. I've seen 3-1 consistently. I've never seen 4-0.
To answer the question, I don't know. But I mean, I can easily pull it up. We don't have the time, but I can easily go and look the last several years to see.
And like I say, I don't care what sport you pull up, Charles.
Right.
I can never remember.
Well, again, I can think of softball. But yeah, I mean, you have to do a little digging on that. But that is a valid point. But you know, I think
the West had a lot of the awards when it came to overall.
Yeah.
But in the heads-up matchup, tournament time, the East showed their dominance.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like it. I almost think if you're going to keep divisions, you need to split the awards by the divisions also, because you don't play the other competition.
Yeah. Well,
East pitcher of the year, West pitcher of the year. East hitter of the year, West hitter of the year. You know, hey, they do it in baseball, National League, American League MVP. Why not do it with our divisions? Because they before interleague, they never played each other.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I think we probably for the next month we'll be talking about divisions. Baseball's done away with it. The coaches seem to be happy with it in baseball that I've talked to. Quiet as it's kept, the softball coaches I talked to at the tournament want to do away with it too. But what's the solution to the problem on that? We used to have a softball roundup back in the day, way back when. Hattiesburg, and I think it's been in 2 other places. Somebody mentioned at the tournament. This was kind of before I really got into it, but I do remember Hattiesburg. But there's oxygen amongst the coaches. Coaches I talked to at the tournament said, yes, let's do it. But as the commissioner said, there's going to be conversation about it. But what he doesn't want, talking about the commissioner, is a lot of flip-flopping. We do this one year, we do that another year, we do this, we go back and forth. If we're going to do this, then there's got to be a plan. Now, he did mention in the interview that the conference has the master scheduling in place. If the softball coaches want it, the scheduling from the conference office is already in place for it to happen. So it's just a matter of whether the coaches voted in and it goes up the flagpole. And once that's approved, the conference will implement the scheduling starting next year for softball with no divisions involved.
Charles, we do have the AD Drew plan that I've been floating out there that would add one extra week to the softball schedule. Here you go, Charles. Keep your divisions, split them in half. So you have wind up with 4 3-team pods, East and West. So and I'll use Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State. That's one pod, okay? Your other pod in the East would be Jackson, Valley, and A&M. So FAMU plays Bethune 6 times, plays Alabama State 6 times. 12 games, correct?
Mm-hmm.
They play the other 3 teams that would be on the East, A&M, Valley, and Jackson State 4 times. That brings you to what? 24, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with those other 6 games? There's your crossover, Charles. You bring them together, 1 game against everybody. That brings you to 30, adds 1 week to the schedule. You start your conference schedule 1 week earlier. That gets you to your 30 games. Everybody plays everybody at least once. And your costs stay pretty much the same.
Now, next week, Charles, this is the second week in a row he's floated this out. Next week, I promise we'll have graphics and we'll have some budget analysis next week, Drew. Since you have floated this out 2 consecutive weeks now, next week we will have graphics and a budget analysis of this. You might get this thing through, Drew.
Softball only plays 24 conference games, but they can play up to 30.
Right. They only play 24.
Well, I think just based on just the scuttlebutt I'm hearing that the 24 is probably gonna stay to 24. I don't think it's gonna change. Because there's no. I mean, if you look at the schedule, and I just didn't really think about it until maybe a couple of weeks ago. There hasn't been any buys. Everybody's playing every weekend, and that's a grind. You know, baseball back in the day, there used to be a couple of bye weekends in conference if you chose to. Now, some teams will play out of conference on a weekend, but it's a grind every weekend in softball. So that's got to be, and I'm sure the coaches are concerned about that, but I think that's just a part of the scheduling model that's out there. So that'll probably get considered a little bit, but I doubt it. I think we'll probably do away with divisions, and I'm anxious to see how it's going to look.
So with the 24 schedule, just keeping that in mind, that would mean you would keep your 5 on your side that everybody plays, and that would give you 3 on the opposite side, 3 series on the opposite side, not 3 game series to make up the other 9 for the 24. So in a 2-year or a 4-year, I don't know if they'd do it opposite like that. You would get to play everybody, but you would get to play everybody with only 24 games. There's almost no chance.
Another thing that's interesting to take note with only playing 24 games, the softball season starts only 1 week before the baseball season on the NCAA calendar, but the tournament is 2 weeks before the men's tournament, the baseball tournament. Mm-hmm. So there's this unevenness with the baseball season is longer, than softball season.
Yeah,
by about I guess if we do the math, by a week,
3 weeks. Regular season is 3 weeks shorter. No, 2 weeks shorter.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying, softball starts.
It's 2 weeks shorter. It's 2 weeks shorter.
Right. It's something like that. It's
1.5 weeks shorter.
I thought it was a week, but anyway, 2 weeks. But anyway, there's a difference there. Let me go to this, Charles. You mentioned it a little bit. I always love the fact that you get a chance to talk to Dr. McClellan, and you always find a way to pull out some interesting nuggets from him every year. So what did your conversation with him this year pull out? What did you find out and discover in your conversation with him this year?
Well, one of the things, and he mentioned this when I interviewed him at the basketball tournament, You know, he said this then, and he said it again the other day. His father teases him like, "You're the commissioner, make it happen." And what he's saying is that, yeah, I can make it happen, but I have 12 presidents to report to, and it has to be approved up and down the chain of command. So I just can't say, let's do this, and it gets done. And so what he basically is saying is that any policy and procedure that the conference has to institute, whether it's a change in the scheduling or moving the baseball tournament to Birmingham or whatever the case, it's got to be approved up and down the line from the basketball coaches up to the presidents and the CFOs and all that. So the conference is not going to do anything, or Dr. McClellan's not going to institute anything that has not been approved with a majority. He mentioned the word majority. So what I was told about the softball situation was last year, softball approved this new scheduling, but it wasn't 8-4. 8-4 is 2/3, right?
Right.
I understand that softball last year was 7-5 with the coaches. Part of the reason for that, from what I was told, is that you had some vacancies there. And so not everybody was all together. And so when it got to the ADs, which is the next step, once the softball coaches approve it, then the ADs kind of shut it down because it wasn't a majority. So the conference is going to be very diligent. I think you have a group of presidents that wants to do this stuff by the book. You got a lot of younger presidents that want to make sure everything is done decent in order. So he did mention that a couple of times, both in Atlanta and the other day. Softball was a big deal. Of course, baseball. And, you know, just talking about just in general, just making sure the student athlete experience, you know, we talked about everything. Football, they're happy with football. The basketball tournament, for example, everyone was happy with Atlanta. And I was sitting behind the commissioner when the presidents, you know, were talking to them, and they were there and they loved it. So we kind of talked about Atlanta. They're going to do some they did some polling and did some surveys to see what we can do to improve the basketball experience a little bit. I can't think of much more. I mean, because the arena was almost sold out, according to the commissioner. You know, and so it was a great venue right by the airport and all that. So I think he's happy with that. And just in general, I think the concern with this new legislation that's coming down the line, I think we're all just kind of holding our breath to see how that's going to look in terms of if it's going to impact. And I didn't ask him this, but you could tell, you know, something that, you know, we're all thinking about, like, how's this going to impact the SWAC? But as the commissioner said, that we got our folks at the table to make sure the impact is minimal, if any. So, I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see, you know, going forward, how that looks. He's happy with, you know, the football setup, but he was not happy with the fact that the Celebration Bowl, there's only 1 week between the SWAC championship game and the Celebration Bowl. He said he stomped on the table to fight against that, but there's nothing he can do about it. The networks control that. ESPN, Disney controls that. John Grant talked about it. You know, he doesn't like the fact that he only got 1 week to get ready for Celebration Bowl, but was happy about the fact that Jackson State won it. So I think that was the thing that concerned him. But I think as of right now, I mean, softball tournament's in a good place, in a good space. There was some collision in terms of Georgia Tech and the ACC. That's kind of part of the reason why we left Atlanta for baseball. City of Birmingham has been good to the conference, and you got Rickwood Park there for that. So I just think for the baseball tournament, it'll probably be there for the next few years. And look, that's the second time it's been there. It's been at Rickwood before. So looking forward to seeing how that looks.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Drew said Drew's got bracket information. You got bracket information you want to drop, Drew?
Yes, sir.
All right. Just read it. I don't think the graphics. Well, we're on the wrong feed.
There we go.
Graphics. All right.
There we go. We'll start off. Looks like Howard is going to be in the bracket in the Duke Regional with Duke, Coastal Carolina, Georgia, and Howard will be those 4 teams. And obviously days and times are not set yet. And let me find, I had, okay, let me scroll down to, And there we go. Tuscaloosa is where Jackson State will be going. And it'll be Virginia Tech and Belmont also in there. Alabama will be taking on Jackson State, while Howard will be taking on Georgia.
I don't have an issue with that. Last year, I think Jackson played at LSU's regional, and I don't have an issue with that. I mean, it's close. Couple hours, 2.5 hours away.
2.5 hour drive, yes.
Yeah, 2.5 hour drive. I mean, your fans can get to you. I like the way baseball is done and softball, how they keep you close. But you know my argument, and I've said this on Carlos's show many a time, I'm jumping on the table, is that I just would like to see us, instead of a 4 seed playing at Tuscaloosa's regional, how about us being a 3 seed and playing at Memphis's regional? And we're not playing Memphis. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation for another day with that. And I'm looking at the chat group, guys, and I'm looking at some of the comments. I think Dr. Cavill asked a question about, the media, having media on our ballots. I think that for all of our schools, there's media that's tied to our schools, like Jackson. For us, Baton Rouge has got a newspaper. You've got Florida A&M, the Tallahassee. The guy does a good job of covering Florida A&M, Daytona. I mean, there are media members that cover all of our schools. And I think if you put maybe a newspaper and or TV as a part of that ballot, it's going to be a bigger ballot. But I think you get more teeth, into it to have it a better ballot. Could there be some biases? Probably so. But I think you're going to have more of a diverse ballot. You got the Monroe paper, the Shreveport paper that covers Grambling. The guy that covers Tanner Spearman covers UAPB, and he's all over UAPB sports. He should be on it. And so I think, again, you would have a more diverse and robust ballot. Another question about relationships with the coaches. Yeah, I mean, I got a chance to get to know Coach Beal, very passionate and intense. Kevin Montgomery, I knew him. A lot of the coaches I already kind of knew from previous tournaments. So, and of course, I do Alcorn's games, so we play these teams. So I got a chance to, talk to some of the coaches, Coach Rodriguez of Texas Southern, Vernon Bland at Prairie View. And so, you have those relationships. You kind of follow the ebbs and flows of the season. And so you kind of fill in the blanks, once you get to the tournament. I really thought, guys, that, and I text you, Brian, about this. I thought, personally, I can say it now because it's over with. I thought Florida A&M was going to win it today. Just something. I'm serious. I mean,
so how you leave 55 runners on base and expect to win a tournament?
Well, because I thought
you can't look at the total, Drew. The total is based on the number of games. They played 7 games, Drew. Come on now, stop.
Brian, that's over 8 runners per game.
Okay,
I get that, but I'm just saying in terms of the last 2 games. Okay, so yes, they had their chance throughout the tournament, but I just got the sense that FAMU's pitching had Jackson State flustered a little bit, and just the way Jackson looked yesterday. Now you can attribute that to a number of things. Jackson had the favorable bracket; they earned that, and they had a lot of downtime. A lot. They had more downtime than any other team. Yeah. And Coach Montgomery acknowledged it. I mean, he had to get the team out of the hotel, run around. I mean, and so a team like
active,
to keep them active. And a team like Jackson State that likes to play fast, there's a rhythm to all that, to all the teams really. But I think it really impacted them. Very undisciplined at bats. And I thought FAMU just kind of had the pitchers to slow them down a little bit. So that's why I thought FAMU would get it today. I mean, I can say it now. Nothing against Jackson State, but I just think FAMU had that little bit of an edge. The confidence, just looking at, Coach Beal and what she was doing, you just kind of felt that. But Jackson found a way. They found a way, and they did just enough. So that's why it was just my feeling being there. Like, I think FAMU might pull this thing out. Just the walk-off home run the other day. I mean, just those little things kind of help lean things go your way. Like this may be, the story of the year in softball. First year coach coming in. And all that, but Jackson found a way.
I was surprised he didn't pitch. And speaking of Montgomery, I was surprised he didn't pitch his ace in the game on Saturday to end it and not go to a Sunday. You know what I'm saying? I thought, because even you pointed out the young lady that pitched was their number 3 pitcher.
Yeah.
And so I thought, hey, with all that kind of rest and sitting around, you'd send out your number one and try to take us down, try to take FAMU down. You know, I was honestly very, very surprised that, you know, he didn't, and he left the door open. Because the last thing I would have wanted to do, I'm just putting on my coach's hat like I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night, but you know, I wouldn't want to give the team who had just won 3 in a row a 4th win going into a last day. I wouldn't want to give them that opportunity.
And Bryan, I am as equally shocked that Coach Beal came back with Brown instead of going with Zoriana today.
I've had softball people tell me you go with the hot hand.
Had an argument to be pitcher of the year and has been your ace all season long. And nothing against Brown. She pitched a good game. But
I remember the championship games last year. JSU rocked Zoriana last year. And I think Zoriana's a first team all conference pitcher. But Jackson State got to her last year in the championship. Now, you know, I don't know. I'm not speculating that there was anything to that, but in my head, I was okay with it because I was thinking about last year. But you know, that was last year. But I get it.
Well, Coach Montgomery did say before the game this morning that he felt like, and he didn't have the lineup, but he felt like Coach Beal was going to go with Amari Brown because he said if it was him, he would have started her. Yeah. He would have started Amari Brown. But Zoriana Hughes shut Jackson State out. One of the games that they played. So I thought that maybe, you know, when you're playing for it all, when you're playing for it all, you go with the number one, and they were rested. She was rested, and so I thought that's where, just me personally, that's where I thought Coach Beal would go. But obviously, I mean, Brown was terrific. I mean,
I don't think Brown had a bad day today.
No, she did not. She didn't have a bad game. Yeah. I just thought that because really it was just two pitches that Jackson State made good connections of. The RBI double.
Yep.
That put them up 2-1, and then later on, I believe it was another double also that gave them the 3rd run.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of that, you know, defense played well and everything else, but I just, you know, you can make the same argument, Bryan, about Jackson State that you can about FAMU.
Yes.
Questioning who started which game.
Yeah. And I see the comments. I know I'm talking a lot about FAMU, and look, congratulations, Jackson State. I mean, early in the tournament, I thought, you know, and this is everybody's probably going to disagree who followed the tournament. Early on, you know, the one team I thought that might get over the hump, Bethune-Cookman.
Yep.
When you talk to Coach Watt, talk to Coach Watt, they just cannot get the key out. They cannot get the key at bat. And, you know, I didn't share this story during the tournament. You know, Jackson State and Bethune-Cookman had to play a makeup last week for 1 inning. Bethune-Cookman flew to Jackson. Yep. They flew to Jackson for 1 inning. Wow. They had a game back in April that got into the 7th inning that was canceled after that because of weather.
Tied.
And so
was it tied or was it?
I don't know what the score. I don't know what the score was, but they had to finish the game. So last week in softball, there was no regular season games played, but last week was the week for makeup. I think there were 6 games made up. Southern played, I think, 3 or 4 of them.
Yep.
Bethune-Cookman and Jackson had to finish 1 inning.
Wow. See, I missed that. I didn't get that news. That was interesting.
They flew to Jackson to play 1 inning, and 4 or 5 of their players got stuck in Atlanta because of weather.
Oh.
So Coach Wadden had that to deal with. And I didn't say it during the broadcast because I don't.
So they weren't all on the same flight?
No, they were not all on the same flight. May have been exams or whatever. I don't know. But there were several players that missed that connection from Atlanta to Jackson. They had to figure out a way. They didn't make it until the morning of the game, so they had to get them a hotel or whatever. So, you know, that's the 100% rule. You know, you had to find a way to finish that game. Every team played all 24 games, and last week I think Southern had 3 or 4 games that they had to play last week, and I thought that was a factor for Southern, even though it may be an excuse. They had 3 home games, final exams at home, and then had to, kind of get cranked up for the tournament. So there were a number of games, and actually for Grambling got in because Southern beat UAPB the Saturday before last. That allowed Grambling to get in. So, that was just another dynamic, just going into softball, just another storyline. You had to play these games. Everybody played all the games.
Which is one reason why you need to have an extra series so that you don't have to make these things up as readily. And before we get off here, we'll go over that because baseball has that issue going on this week after a lot of rainouts. Of course, you saw some of that down where you was at, Charles, that weather stuff.
Yeah, man, it was very interesting to see. Just hearing Coach Watton talk about that, having to go back to Jackson, and I mean, I don't think she was complaining about it, but she was, because that's just for one inning.
Exactly. She was complaining.
I mean, for one inning.
I mean, that's one where you fly in. I mean, that's almost you fly in that morning, play the inning, and fly back out that night.
Well, you could. I mean, if you're talking about flying in that morning, you're taking a really big risk because these flights are not on time. I think they got there the night before, but I think some of the players may have had exams and they couldn't come in with the rest of the team. So there was like one last flight going into Jackson that Friday night, and weather canceled the flight. So it was. I mean, Coach Watt was one of those coaches I can talk to for a while.
Those are not two cities that there's an easy flight pattern between those two.
So I thought early in the tournament, if Bethune-Cookman, they won that first game over Prairie View, a team that kind of been in their way in past tournaments. They won that game, and I said, you know what? If they get the second game, look out, because they've been through a lot and they've come up short. Just one of them stories in which you just keep banging on the door, you can't get there, and then one year you kick it in. So I thought Bethune-Cookman, I thought they would be the early favorite for me personally, just behind the scenes. But then they were one pitcher short. They rode a pitcher. They didn't bring in Helny Gonzalez, who was one of the better pitchers in this conference. Maybe brought her in a little late, but they were riding one arm, and other than Helny Gonzalez, and I thought that cost them. But they had a 4-run lead too against FAMU, so they're you can kind of wash that out the window because they had a 5-1 lead. They lost 6-5, but they just couldn't get the key out when they needed to.
All right. So what's next for you, Charles? We're 2 weeks away. Well, actually, you're not doing it. Are you doing anything with track and field, which is happening?
No.
The next couple of days. Okay.
No. And look, I want to give credit to the SWAC office too. They had to make a bunch of decisions, splitting games up, and half the conference brass that was in Gulfport had to leave yesterday to go to track and field at Baton Rouge. So I mean, it was kind of a skeleton crew today for the championship. But the conference office did a wonderful job. And for those who might not know, I mean, everyone in the SWAC office is at all these championships.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and I used to think the SWAC office had 30 or 40 people working in it. And maybe I'm just naive. I'm just being honest. I mean, the way it looks, you got all these volunteers, it just seemed like the conference office had a ton of people in it, but it has what it has. So when these championships, they come back to back to back to back, you got track and field this week, you got baseball next week. For about 6 weeks, they're just out of the office. Right. And so it's a stretch for the SWAC. But for me, I don't think I'll be doing baseball. I think Centoria Black and Roger Cador will be a part of that coverage. But I got baseball coming up this weekend. It's our final baseball series. Florida A&M will be coming, and Florida A&M is going to be on the road for 3 weeks, Brian? I think they're going to be on the road.
Yeah, they're in Texas right now. Then they'll come to Lorman, and then they'll head to Birmingham.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting for Coach Shoup. He said it's to bring everybody together. This is what it's about, but that's a whole lot of traveling. So for me, it's the Alcorn FAMU baseball, and I'll get a chance to check out the baseball tournament, and that's going to be interesting too, because you got Bethune-Cookman battling to win the conference, and you got FAMU on their heels. And I think 1 through 8, you can't tell who's going to be 1 through 8. Jackson has struggled a little bit, and you got a team that's hot. Southern's hot, and so I'm anxious to see how these standings are going to look with the baseball tournament coming up.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at the standings right now. Well, unfortunately for Texas Southern, they are outside of the top 8 as they have lost 7 in a row. I don't know if that's all 7 conference games, but I know they did get
And
swept.
look who snuck back in.
Who?
Hold up. I'll pull it up for you.
Southern?
No, Prairie View snuck back in. The team that we had left for dead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, part of that, give credit to, I thought somebody in the chat, they won 3 in a row. They won their series this weekend, swept. Who was it that they played? I don't even know who they played this weekend.
And see, Jackson had an opportunity to move up, and they lost to UAPB twice, and today's game was rained out. So Jackson just might be in the middle of the pack there.
Look, early prediction. I'm saying this now before we even get into talking about baseball. The team that I do not want to play in first game is UAPB. I don't know what they have done to change up things, but that is I know like FAMU's on a winning streak. I know Jackson State's been on a streak, blah, blah, blah. But UAPB, that's the team that I don't know what they've been doing, but pay attention. Don't sleep on UAPB.
Yeah, I think, I saw them. I did the series when they came to Alcorn, and you could just tell, look, Carlos James did what he could there in a long time for the previous coach, but you could just tell a definite breath of fresh air within that program. I mean, they're doing all the right things, and you're exactly right. I think UAPB is a team that nobody wants to see. I think they're playing with house money because a lot of folks didn't expect them to even make the tournament. But, my sentimental pick, and again, Bethune-Cookman, again, they're hit. And I just go back to COVID when their program was shut down. Their coach was laid off. I mean, this has been a few years, so I probably should be beyond me by now. But that's a program kind of like softball. They're 1 at bat away. They made it to the bracket final, I believe, the last couple of years. They've been knocking on the door. And if they win the regular season, I think they're going to be a really tough outcome, SWAC term. They're going to be the hunted, where they've been the hunters in years past. So I think Bethune-Cookman is going to be there. Can Jackson get over the hump? They seem to be early outs in the tournament. Texas Southern, kind of the blue blood SWAC programs. Southern University, they've struggled, but they're getting off the mat a little bit. We'll see what Coach Crenshaw is going to do there. So I'm anxious to see. I think the baseball tournament's going to be really intriguing, playing at a historic ballpark. Looking forward to seeing how that's going to go.
Yeah, apparently the Grambling State Bethune game, which was at Grambling, was postponed today. So that kind of was what?
I thought it was actually canceled because I said a couple of them have been canceled, a couple of them were postponed.
Well, I mean, that's a game that will have to get played, I think.
Another piece of news that I didn't know, and I apologize for not knowing, baseball has an 80% rule.
Yes. So
softball has a 100% rule. Baseball has an 80% rule. So if you got 80% of your games in, and if you don't care about where you're seated, most likely the games that got the Jackson, UAPB, Bethune, Grambling, those games probably not going to be played at this point. I don't think.
Well, not only that, Charles, but the calendar is not friendly because this weekend the series are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Right.
So unless Grambling and Bethune stay over and play tomorrow, that game, there's nowhere to make that game up.
Right. Yeah.
Are the standings based on win percentage?
Yes.
Okay. So
yes. So here's the thing, Brian. And I'm looking at these standings right now. Now there's a realistic shot that Florida A&M could catch Bethune. Bethune has to be swept now because FAMU trails Bethune by 2 in the loss column.
I'm not the way Texas Southern just played. I don't know.
Yeah. So, but right now, Florida A&M nor Bethune can finish no less than second.
Right.
Alabama State cannot catch them, and both of them own the tiebreaker against Alabama State.
And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I mean, other than first place, I mean, if you talk to Devin Pierre, the coach at Grambling, or UAPB's coach, or Crenshaw, if you're in the tournament, if you're a 5 seed, a 6 seed, at this point with the tournament coming up, does it really matter?
Matchups. Especially, and Charles, I'm more looking at day 2 matchups than day 1 matchups. Because those day 2 matchups are going to be crucial. You know, the one good thing about the SWAC tournament, because there is so much parity with it, you know, back in the day, Charles, your number 1 really started game 2. You didn't start your number 1 game 1. Now you almost have to start your regular Friday, Saturday, Sunday if you want to have a chance in the SWAC tournament. So when I talk about these matchups, Charles, I'm talking about those day 2 matchups where for some teams it's going to be win or go home.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really looking at. And I'm like, Bryan, if you're Bethune-Cookman, do you really want to play a potential Grambling UAPB winner on game 2? Just throwing that out there. And one last thing, you're going to see some untraditional matchups come tournament time because of no divisions anymore. So it's not number 1 East playing number 4 West anymore.
Right.
You know, you're going to see some non-traditional matchups this time.
Well, here, speaking of pitching, I said this kind of as a joke, but really not. Softball's a true double elimination tournament, right? Baseball's not.
It's two 14 double elimination tournaments with a single game playoff afterwards.
Correct. What if, and I asked this to someone, do you think baseball will mirror softball in the terms of the format of the tournament? Where instead of 1 game, you got a double elimination. Do you think baseball would, and I just threw it out there just as a conversation. Do you think baseball coaches will want that? Where you got a winner take all game with the pitching, and I'm looking at the team's ERA, Bethune-Cookman 5.26. Then you got teams with 8 and 9 earned run averages. Someone made the point, probably not, because in that winner take all game, you might have a 17-16 game. I mean, is that something that you think the baseball coaches would want to do? I would say no. And I said it as kind of a joke because I think I know what the answer would probably be. Coaches probably would go for it. But it's just, softball's true double. You think baseball would have that? It's in the next 3 years, you think baseball coaches would go for it? Because of television,
the TV.
Yeah. But if something could be worked out to make it happen, I guess, would the coaches even go for it? Just if TV can make it happen, do you think the coaches would go for it?
No. I don't think so. But
why?
Charles, let's be real.
We have a conversation.
Charles,
we understand TV is a dynamic. We understand that. But
I'm taking the TV out.
Yeah, let's take the TV out.
I'm talking about from a competitive point.
Yeah.
Charles, when we get to day 3 of these tournaments, you know that you're going to have 20-run games. Easily. Yeah. Easily. Of the 4 games played on day 3, 3 of them will feature 20-plus runs. And when you get to some of those other games, you're talking 25, 30 runs. Charles, you've been there for your fair share of 16, 14, 17, 13.
I have.
And it's just the dynamics of it. What I would love to see, Charles, if we want a better product for the SWAC baseball tournament, we need to extend the tournament by 1 day and eliminate the doubleheaders. That's going to give you better pitching matchups throughout the tournament. because you'll be able to bring starters back with 3 days rest, or 2 days if they've only thrown a limited number of pitches, instead of, because you're going to go to your regular weekend rotation. You're going to go through that midweek. You're going to have a bullpen session sometime during the tournament just to get to the championship game, Charles. And how many times have we seen the championship game be a bullpen session? Is that our true representative of the best team in our conference when you have one or both teams having to throw a bullpen session for the title? Let's extend the tournament by 1 day. Let's avoid the double headers to give these pitchers an opportunity to get more rest.
Yeah.
All right. Charles, man, we appreciate your time this evening. Thanks for making some time out. Can
I answer one question? I see in the chat group, who makes the call on scheduling updates? Based on weather? I think what happens for now, softball, of course, is 100%, so the team's got to get together on it. I do think in baseball that if there was an opportunity to get games in, I think the conference doesn't really get involved unless they're asked to. You know, if the fields aren't playable, if you need to find a neutral point, a neutral site, I think the conference may get involved with that, but that's kind of left up to the two schools to figure it out.
Yeah. They usually don't get involved until the two schools can't agree on something.
Right.
Then they have to make the decision.
And most of the time they'll get together and figure it out. That's based on my experience. And so, you know, sometimes you'll play a 4-game series at the other team's place. I know that's not what you really want to do. And so I think the conference doesn't want to get involved with that. They want to let the schools kind of work it out if at all possible.
And one last thing on that, it's easier when that rain out occurs in the first half of the season than when it occurs as late as some of our rainouts did this year. When you get them rainouts last 2-3 weeks of the season, that's what makes it tough. When you get a rainout in March, you've got plenty of time to figure out how to make that up.
Yeah. And that's why that Bethune-Cookman-Jackson softball was kind of a surprising thing, because I thought maybe they would figure out a way to extend it a day or whatever to kind of get that one inning in. And I was told it was a pretty pricey trip for Bethune-Cookman too, as you can imagine, with flights. And they had to go from Jackson to Gulfport. And so that was a long week for Laura Watten's ball club. I can tell you that.
All right. Hey, again, Charles, appreciate your time, and have a good week. Hopefully you'll see some good baseball this weekend as the Rattlers come to town. And
one-sided, of course.
I'm looking forward to talking to Coach Shoup. And look, Alcorn baseball, it's been a struggle. Carlton Hardy, who was a longtime coach at Savannah. It's a struggle. We got to get some pitching in here. There's no doubt about that. We got to get some arms.
I heard you got one good pitcher there right now. He just needs some help.
Need a lot of help. But Carlton Hardy is, it is what it is. And Carlton Hardy makes no bones about it. But we're gonna hit the JUCO route pretty hard, but we got to get some pitching. And so we'll see how that looks like going forward. But I think Carlton Hardy has the patience for it. And I just think got to get some more arms in. So we'll see how that looks, and we'll see Coach Shoup and FAMU this weekend.
All right. Again, congrats on the great job this week. We appreciate all the insights and everything in sharing with us. And I know everybody who watched enjoyed the call. So again, thanks for your time tonight, Charles. And make sure you're following Charles on X at Tallman Radio is where you can find him. And of course, every Saturday when he's not, being called away, he's right on the Carlos Brown Show with the panel.
Fussing with Carlos.
Yeah, exactly.
Fussing with Carlos.
We missed the chop yesterday, Charles. Make sure you give it before you go off the air now.
Every Saturday at noon Eastern, 11 Central, Charles is part of the panel on the Carlos Brown Show. That's where you can find them. All right, Charles. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Be well.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. All right. Drew, we got to get ready to I got a little scuffle that's happening in Indianapolis between Cleveland and the Pacers. The Cleveland Cavaliers, man, I don't know what's wrong with them, man. They trying to start a fight with my Pacers. Yeah, ridiculousness. Pacers are up 12. We ready to take these guys out, man. It's send the Cavs home, man. Send them home. Send them back to Cleveland. I did want to mention one thing you talked about. Your proposal is in terms of the SWAC baseball tournament. The tournament starts on Wednesday, May 11th. You're actually advocating for this.
No, my May 11th, wrong tournament.
I'm sorry, Wednesday, May 21st.
Yes.
You're talking about it starting on Tuesday.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're full of proposals and ideas tonight, Drew. Good stuff. All right. I do want to make mention here before we close out the show. Talladega College and SUNO are headed to the 2025 NAIA Baseball National Championship Open Round. This is via blackcollegenines.com. Jay Sokol. It was announced back on May 7th that the 46-team field included the opening round is being played May 12th through the 13th. 2 HBCUs are represented in Talladega College and SUNO, Southern University at New Orleans, both of the HBCU AC. Talladega, a 42-12 record, and the regular season and conference tournament champs are making their 6th appearance and second straight in the national tournament opening round, and they will compete in Lawrenceville, Georgia, where they will play against the host school, Georgia Gwinnett College, who has a 49-4 record. And they are the number 2 ranked team in NAIA baseball. So that's pretty interesting. The other team in the bracket is the University of Houston Victoria, who is ranked 14th in the nation, and then Kaiser University. That's Kaiser down in the Sun Conference, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. They are the other team.
And Brian, just to give you those times, Talladega plays St. Xavier at 1 o'clock on tomorrow. 1 o'clock Eastern time on, I believe these are Eastern time. Let me double check. Yeah, all times local. So that would be 1 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. And should they win, they will play at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. Should they lose, they will play at 11 a.m. on Tuesday. And for SUNO, they will play Ottawa of Kansas at 11 a.m. tomorrow. We're 12 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. Should they win, they will play at, let's see, game 1 winner. Wait a minute, now it's, they have to play a doubleheader. Should they win, they stay and play at 6 o'clock also on Monday. And should they lose, they stay overnight to play at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. So those are your opening round game times and potentials. And those games, you can go to naia.org to find out more information about those games and live streams on those particular games.
All right. Again, starting today was the day 1 of the SWAC Outdoor Track and Field Championships. They are being held at Mumford Stadium in Baton Rouge on Southern University's campus. So I don't know if there were any final events today, but tomorrow and Tuesday are the big day. Is it
usually decathlon and heptathlon are day one
type of
day one decathlon and heptathlon? You may have a field event or 2 thrown in there something like the hammer or discus or something like that usually will go. It'll be one or two.
Does it seem odd that the tournament is that the championships are happening at the beginning of the week and not like at the end of the week? What I mean,
well, it depends on the calendar, the NCAA calendar, because by doing it now at the beginning of the week, you got Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. That gives a possible last chance meet this weekend for individuals who are close to qualifying times for the nationals. That gives them one additional opportunity to run.
Okay, good to know. I didn't think about it that way.
Because it's not like in track where just because you won your conference championship, you automatically qualify for nationals. No.
Gotcha. Okay.
You have to actually make a qualifying mark or time. So
gotcha.
This gives an opportunity for them to still do something this weekend. So
SWAC Digital Network is where you can find it on YouTube. That's where you can watch tomorrow and Tuesday. Tuesday, of course, being Championship Tuesday. So if you miss anything on Monday, you'll probably be missing a lot of the prelim events on Monday. Although there will be probably a few finalists that'll be crowned on Monday, but most of them will be on Tuesday. And then the upcoming SWAC baseball series, the final weekend is coming up. I don't even know now how to say. I would normally say that that Bethune-Cookman magic number is a certain number, but I don't even know. That's all out the window, given this whole 80%, 100% thing. So let's just say Bethune right now has a 1.5 game lead over second place Florida.
They need one. Bethune needs one
to win one. So Bethune this weekend, they host Texas Southern. That series is going to be played at Sanford. That's an off-site location about 45 minutes east of Daytona Beach. So they will host Texas Southern there in the historic Sanford baseball stadium that once Jackie Robinson once played in, as well as other Negro League baseball players. That series begins on Thursday. In terms of other interesting series, I guess Southern Jackson State could be an interesting series. Always a lot of fun, usually to baseball programs that have won multiple championships in the SWAC. UAPB Alabama A&M, another series to pay attention to. That one will be at Alabama A&M. Alabama State at Prairie View. When you look at the standings, is there any fluctuations that we should be paying attention to, Drew, when you look at, because obviously 1 and 2 are locked up, according to what you had said earlier.
Yeah.
But what about the other 6?
Well, you could have a dramatic shift from 3 to 7, depending on what happens this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Alabama State could finish 3. They could be 5.
Yeah, they're all within. And again,
Grambling
the
can
loss
finish
column.
3. Grambling can actually finish 3 or finish 7. So 3 through 7 are the ones you need to look at. And let's look at the fight for number 8. Ironically, Prairie View, Texas Southern fight it out for 8, but 8 could wind up being Jackson State, depending on what happens with the Southern Jackson State series, who play each other head to head this weekend. So it's a lot that could go on. I believe let's see who has the tiebreak against Prairie View and Southern. Should those two wind up tied? I'm trying to pull it up right now. Southern owns the tiebreak against Prairie View.
Okay.
So, yeah. So there's a lot that could happen all over the standings based on these series this upcoming weekend. And Brian, I was joking about this about 2 weeks ago when I said FAMU had 8 should realistically win 8 out of 9 going down the stretch. Well, let's move that to 9 of 9 because I'm sorry.
Called that. You called it.
Sweep Alcorn.
Yeah, they should. You called that. Good call. So again, final weekend starts on Thursday. Although there is an Alabama State Prairie View series starts on Wednesday. So that series starts on Wednesday in Prairie View. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for that series.
That has something to do with graduation at one of those institutions.
Very well could be. Very well could be.
I know A&M's are graduated this past weekend, so I'm just speculating.
NCAA regionals begin on Monday, tomorrow, for golf. So I know the Florida A&M men's golf team begins their regionals in Tallahassee, so it's in the backyard. Top 5 teams out of 14 in order to advance to the national championship round. Again, that begins Monday and Tuesday. Oh, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's a 3-day tournament. And then on the women's side, I forgot who was the golf winner on the women's side. Was it Alabama State on the women?
I don't recall.
All right. So that regional begins. Hold on, I saw it in the news earlier. Well, all right. Just make sure you're following SWAC.org. Make sure you're following. I'm sure all of you folks, you're following them on X and Instagram, and they'll do a great job of updating teams going there. So
one last piece of news, Brian. Coach Terrence Whittle steps aside at Steelman and gives up his coaching duties. He will still remain on as athletic director at Steelman College. Whittle had been coaching baseball, I believe, for 8 years at Steelman. He's going to turn the reins over to his associate head coach, Rashad Webster, who is 29 years old.
All right. Well, congrats to him. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Loaded show, a little bit longer than I thought we'd go, but had a great conversation with Charles Edmond, so we appreciate him taking his time this evening to join us. And we most definitely appreciate all of you guys in the chat for being a part of the show tonight. Do us a favor, hit the thumbs up and the like button if you haven't already. If you haven't thought about it, we'd appreciate you doing that. Helps the algorithm out. And if you would also take a second, if you are a podcast listener, go check out the BCSN Pod Zone. That's PODZONE on all of your podcast platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. I knew there was another one out there. And anywhere that you download podcasts, search BCSN Pod Zone, where you can not only catch our show, but you can catch Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, all of the shows that appear on the Black College Sports Network this week. Yes, I saw that. So, yeah, appreciate Doc for dropping that in there. Yes, I am distracted because my Pacers are up by 14. And, yes, so I'm looking for us to go up 3-1 in this series against Cleveland. All right, again, congratulations to Howard University and Jackson State University, and to all of you fans and alums out there. Enjoy your moment of sunshine and champagne, and good luck to you in the regionals. See if you can score some runs and stay competitive.
Let's go, SWAC. Let's go, MEAC.
Let's go, SWAC. Let's go, MEAC. Let's get some runs. Let's shock the world.
See y'all in Birmingham.
Exactly. All right, folks. That's going to do it for A.D. Drew. I'm Brian Fulford. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and watching the show. We're done. Peace out. Have a great week, everybody.
Travel light, everybody. Well, holla.
Got to find the outro.
Hit the button, man. Hit the button.
I know. I can't find it. Damn. There we go.
You stay on hard.